Hey Sassy Nari, welcome to Little Fixes. This is your host Matri, a social media professional, a mother, and a simple yet sassy woman just like you. Join me for sweet, simple, and practical ideas that help you in transforming into your best self. This mental health and personal growth podcast is a reminder that you matter. Hello Sassy Nari. Thank you for joining me today. First, an exciting update. Little Fixes is going weekly again from August. Starting 2nd August, I'll release a new episode every Wednesday like I used to, which means that I'll be in your ears every week with inspiring ideas and valuable conversations. Oh, and from next month, there will be a super fun new segment called Sass It Up in every episode. It will be a whole new level of sassy, and you will find all about it in the next episode itself. Now, coming to this episode, I have the Habit Coach Ashdin Doctor with me. He believes that awesome lives start with awesome habits. Ashdin is also an author, a TEDx speaker and host of the Habit Coach podcast. और हम लोग बात करेंगे नेगेटिव सेल्फ टॉक के बारे में. वैसे तो एक वाइडली डिस्कस टॉपिक है, पर फिर भी it's difficult to not talk down to ourselves. I do this all the time. And when I asked Ashdin if he'd be willing to share some insights with us, he agreed and also suggested a very different style for this episode. So आज I'll give him scenarios जहाँ पे मैं अपने आप से negatively बात करती हूँ and he'll suggest what I can do instead. You're going to relate to at least one of these situations and apply the learning to yourself. We'll also talk about the shifts Ashdin made to his mindset and we all can too. So ये conversation काफी interesting होगा, but I'm also a little nervous about sharing my weaknesses here. But anything for you, my dear Sassy Nari. Please do follow Little Fixes on your podcast app and rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It helps a lot. Now let's welcome Ashdin Doctor. Hi Ashdin, welcome to Little Fixes.
Hi Maitri, so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So we'll start with the topic right away. Why do we talk to ourselves negatively? I even heard on your podcast, you call negative self-talk monologue in our brains. So I want to understand from you, where do these come from?
It's very interesting. So negative self-talk is actually taught to us when we were children. And it comes in two formats. So the first way it is taught is when we have a very critical parent that is constantly telling us, that you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. And what that does is that creates this constant self-doubt in you. That am I really like this? Like, oh my God, I can't do anything right. There's that confidence is shattered. And as a result, because the confidence is shattered, then you never really own your power. You never do things in that sense of, like, wow, I can actually do this. And this is where the negative self-talk comes in from. So we actually learn this as a first step from a critical parent, so an overcritical parent. And we normally try to please them. People-pleasing behavior comes in this. I can't say no to people because what will they think of me? All those thoughts come from this behavior pattern that comes from parents. So this is one way that parents teach us this. But another interesting way that parents teach us this is that there are some parents who have negative self-talk as a very, very big part of their identity. So the mother or the father is constantly playing themselves down. They're doing self-deprecating behavior. And as a result, you suddenly think that, this is the way that everyone's supposed to talk. This is the way that I'm also supposed to talk. I have to use words like, I'll try, but I don't know if it's actually be able to do this. I hope I don't bore you. Those are the kinds of things that we learn from our parents as well. So one is an overcritical parent. The other is a parent that is constantly in this state of negative self-talk, negative self-talk, negative self-talk. And then we're in the middle of this and we pick up these behavior patterns from them. And then we pass them down to our children as well. So it's so important for us to realize that this is taking place and break this generational cycle of trauma almost that is taking place in our life.
Now that you say it, I think I'm going to watch my words even more because when I talk to my daughter about certain things, तो मैं भी ऐसे बोल देती हूँ कि यार पता नहीं ये हो पाएगा कि नहीं हो पाएगा, try भी करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए.
Correct. And our kids are picking up all these things. I keep saying that parents keep coming to me and saying, Ashdin, how do I teach my kids habits? And I was like, do you follow the habits first? because
Yeah.
kids are constantly looking at you and following that. So in fact, even in the children's book that I written, it is all about how do the parents actually do the habit and the child follows from there onwards. So yeah, so we have to teach our children correctly how to do these things.
या एंड ऑल्सो ऐसा भी होता है ना कि कई बार हमें ये लगता है कि अगर हम अपने आप से नेगेटिवली बात नहीं करेंगे तो हम स्मग हो जाएंगे कि अरे आई एम परफेक्ट, आई डोंट नीड टू चेंज एनीथिंग और आई डोंट नीड टू इम्प्रूव. वी समवेयर फील कि जो नेगेटिव सेल्फ टॉक है इससे हमारा फायदा हो रहा है. तो ये वाला जो माइंडसेट है आई थिंक ये भी थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजिंग होता है. एंड आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम यू कि इवन तो हमें लग रहा है कि हाँ ये हमें फायदा कर रहा है बट इट इज डेफिनेटली हार्मिंग अस. तो आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये कैसे ये जो आदत है नेगेटिव सेल्फ टॉक की कैसे हमारे लिए हार्मफुल है.
So before coming to the harmful question, you said something very interesting. You said that we use it because we think it is helpful to us. So let's first understand that, and then we'll come to how is it harming. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So we do negative self-talk because we think that we are lowering everyone's expectation of us. Correct. And because the people have lowered their expectation, then you can do whatever it is and it'll be fine. But now if you said that, oh, I am awesome at bowling, and then you actually were bad at it, then you're like, देखो मैंने over promise, under deliver किया. This way तो I'm under delivering, under promising, under everything. And that is what your life then turns into, right? It is just like, I am not living my full potential because I think I can't do it. I say I can't do it and actually don't do it also. Correct? So that is the way in which it is, we think it is benefiting us, but actually it is harming us. So what is interesting is we want people to like us, right? Like you said, that if I say I'm good at this, then people say, Arey, he's smug, isme bada attitude hai, right? He's like very proudy. So there was an expression that used to be used, proudy sa aadmi hai, right? So very proudy person. But that is not true. There's a big difference between being smug, between overconfident and self-confident. And you have to say, and you have to understand this difference. I'm the best in the world is overconfidence. Of course I can do that is self-confidence. Ye difference hai. I am going to do everything that I can so that I can achieve this self-confidence. I will try. I don't know if I can, but I will give it my best shot. Underconfidence. Correct? So you're seeing the levels. We don't want to be overconfident. We don't want to be underconfident. We want to be self-confident because once we feel self-confident, we can achieve everything that we want. Okay? So even though we think it is helping us, it is not really helping us. And the way that it damages us is that it's very important, Maitri, for all of us listening to understand that our thoughts become words and our words become actions. So if you are thinking negative and you are speaking negative, your actions will be negative. You can't have a negative thinking person, negative speaking person, positive acting person. Waisa hota nahi hai. All right. And we have to realize this. If you're having negative thoughts, that is going to be the quality of your life. And why do you want a negative quality of your life? Why do you want to punish yourself? What is the guilt that you're holding on to that you want to punish yourself with? So these are all things that you have to slowly uncover, unravel and work on.
ओके, इंटरेस्टिंग. मतलब हमें किसी भी तरीके से बेनिफिट नहीं हो रहा है बट ये जो आपने कॉन्फिडेंस के लेवल्स बताया आई थिंक इससे हमें समझ में आ जाएगा कि वेयर वी आर. ऑल्सो एक चीज ये भी होती है ना कि जैसे आपने बोला कि आई डोंट नो इफ आई विल बी एबल टू डू इट बट आई विल स्टिल ट्राई इट, विच इज अंडर कॉन्फिडेंस. एंड देन देयर आर ऑल्सो पीपल दे डोंट इवन ट्राई कि करना ही नहीं है, ये तो होएगा ही नहीं. लाइक ऐसा मैंने भी किया है. किसी ने कुछ ऑफर दिया कि ये चीज करनी है तो आई थिंक ये तो मैंने कभी किया नहीं है तो छोड़ ही देते हैं, मना ही कर देते हैं.
Correct. It's not that you will try and learn how to do it. It's just like, why fail at it? Why do, not even try. So I think that is right at the bottom. After that, we come into, at least I will try, but I don't know if I can. That way.
या ओके. तो अब आते हैं रियल लाइफ सिनेरियोज पे. जैसे कि कुछ सिचुएशंस लोग सुने और समझ पाए कि हाँ क्या चल रहा है हमारे दिमाग में. तो द फर्स्ट सिनेरियो, लाइक आई विल टॉक अबाउट माई सेल्फ एंड आई एम श्योर कि पीपल लिसनिंग विल ऑल्सो रिलेट टू एटलीस्ट वन ऑफ दीज. तो मेरे साथ क्या होता है व्हेन आई लूज, मतलब लूज इज अ वेरी लूज वर्ड और ब्रॉड वर्ड, लाइक जैसे मैंने किसी चीज पे बहुत मेहनत की. आई डिड अ पॉडकास्ट एपिसोड, आई डिड अ लॉट ऑफ रिसर्च एंड आई थॉट कि हाँ बहुत अच्छा रिकॉर्ड हुआ है. बट व्हेन आई रिलीज इट, इट डजंट डू एज वेल. और मेरी एक्सपेक्टेशन नहीं पूरी हुई. आई फील शैटर्ड. आई ऑल्सो फील कि पॉडकास्ट ही बेकार है, हो ही नहीं पाएगा. आई एम नॉट गुड इनफ. एंड देन व्हाट हैपेंस, आई गो अबाउट थिंकिंग कि अब मुझे किसी और गेस्ट को रीच आउट ही नहीं करना चाहिए, क्योंकि मैं अच्छा कर नहीं पा रही हूँ, तो फिर क्या फायदा है इतनी मेहनत करने का. तो इस सिनेरियो में व्हाट कैन आई डू?
So the first thing is you saw how you went into a spiral.
हम्म.
One negative thought led to another negative thought that led to another negative thought. मैं ही बेकार हूँ. I should not be doing anything. I should sit under my blanket at home and do nothing.
हम्म.
Correct? It went down all the way down to I am a horrible person.
हम्म.
Now that is how negative self-talk becomes a chain. One thought goes to another thought, goes to another thought, goes to another thought. So
हम्म.
what you have to do is you have to realize you have to break the chain right in the beginning.
कैसे?
Okay.
हम्म.
So where did the negative thoughts start from? You made a very good video or very good podcast. You uploaded the podcast and nothing happened. Nobody heard it.
हम्म.
There was no traction. Correct?
हम्म.
That is what you're saying. Nobody said it was a bad podcast, right? Nobody said ये कितना गंदा था.
हम्म.
People said
Yeah.
कितना गंदा था?
नहीं.
Huh. Right? You just didn't see traction.
Yeah.
Correct? So now you went from that to directly, I'm a useless person. So there are many steps in between, no? So what
हम्म.
you have to do is right in the beginning, when you realize that something's not going according to plan, you have to stop and say, what can I learn from this situation?
हम्म.
Instead of why did it not do well? See, there's a difference. Why did it not do well will always turn into a self-harming thought. Why did it not do well? Because I did not do research. Why did I not do research? Because I'm not a good person and went back into me. Correct? Um, why did it not do well? Arey, the recording was not proper because of this. So what happens is it becomes a blame game when you ask the question why. And you
हम्म.
notice you were asking why questions after it did not work.
Yeah.
You have to ask what, how questions. So,
हम्म.
what can I do next time to improve? How can I make the next episode gain more traction? So, now what you've done is you've asked what questions and how questions. And that is actually going to give you an answer. And you've not gone into a negative spiral loop. Now, think about that episode. What could you have done differently in that episode? I did not promote it enough on Instagram. Okay, fine. What could you have done? I did not send it to all my mummy WhatsApp groups. Okay, very good. What else could you have done? My introduction was maybe a little too long, so people did not listen to the whole episode. Okay, fine. What could I have done changes the way that you approach the situation instead of why, मैं ही बेकार हूँ. And that is the way that you would actually solve that situation.
Okay. So, see, I got two ideas from this right now. एक तो नेगेटिव सेल्फ टॉक को कैसे रोकना है, एंड दूसरी थिंग पॉडकास्ट से रिलेटेड भी थोड़ी सी हेल्प हो गई. That's the benefit of talking to a podcaster, a seasoned podcaster at that. Okay.
Also,
Then,
remember, Maitri,
yeah.
when I started my podcast, for the first many months, there were only 6 people who listened to my podcast.
Okay.
Okay. Me, my mom, my dad, and one friend. And then I would listen to it 4 times. So, मतलब ऐसा 6 listens हो जाते थे. Okay. So that is how it starts. You have to just keep consistent at it. And then slowly people will talk and find it and discover it and learn how amazing you are.
Yeah. So, Ashton, the next scenario is about winning. Like पहले हमारा था कि हम हार जाते हैं तो हम नेगेटिवली बात करते हैं. But the next thing, like what happens with me also, कि मैंने कोई बहुत अच्छा आइडिया दिया अपने सोशल मीडिया क्लाइंट को, या कोई बहुत अच्छी पोस्ट कर दी, एंड द आइडिया डिड वेरी वेल. द क्लाइंट सेड टू मी, वाओ मैत्री, ये तो बहुत बढ़िया था, आई लव दिस आइडिया, थैंक यू फॉर दिस एवरीथिंग. तो पहले तो मुझे थॉट आएगा, वाओ, आई विल बी हैप्पी. और उसके तुरंत बाद आ जाएगा कि अरे ये तो कोई भी कर सकता था, इतना भी कुछ नहीं करते, ज्यादा खुश होने की जरूरत नहीं है. तो मे बी इट्स ऑल्सो इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम, बट ये जो नेगेटिविटी वाला थॉट है ये ज्यादा रहता है कि और ये साथ फिर ये भी आ जाता है कि पता नहीं फिर आगे कभी ऐसा आइडिया आएगा कि नहीं आएगा, एंड द क्लाइंट की एक्सपेक्टेशन तो बढ़ गई, और नेक्स्ट टाइम पता नहीं हो पाएगा कि नहीं हो पाएगा, क्योंकि नेगेटिव थॉट तो चल ही रहा है. So what can I do then?
Lovely. The first thing you have to realize is that you have to give yourself a high five. Correct? कि
Mm.
मतलब it went well. So celebrate that victory. Okay, and understand that victories are all short-lived. You cannot
Mm.
rest on this victory for the rest of your life, because if you did, then you would 100% be failing after that. Correct? It is like those singers who have one hit wonders. Na? मतलब एक गाना गा के
Mm.
they don't have any other song that became a hit. Correct? Why? Because they realize, हाँ मैंने सब कुछ किया. What do I need to do anything more for? The point is that every time you achieve something, you should realize that now that I've achieved it, it is not as challenging as I thought it was. Now I am excited for the next challenge. Instead of thinking, ki, will I be able to do it? How can I grow to this next challenge? That is positive self-talk. That is self-confidence. I know I have the ability to learn and grow from this. That means I might have to do research. I might have to go and do some online courses for marketing, but I'm going to up my game from this onwards, right? So that is the way that you would actually end up thinking about this, instead of thinking, ki, Arey, now I'll have to work even harder. What is the point? Right? I remember my friends who climb Mount Everest. As on the way down, they have not even reached camp back. They finished climbing Everest. They're on the way back down from Everest. And then thinking, now what will I climb next?
Mm.
Right? So if you can think of a challenge as big as Mount Everest and thinking, ki, matlab, uske baad kya? Then marketing project is obviously going to be, in the same league. You would obviously look for another challenge after that. So we learn from people like this.
Okay. मतलब अगर अच्छा कर लिया है बट स्टिल कीप चैलेंजिंग योरसेल्फ, ना तो स्मग होने की जरूरत है और ना ही ये सोचने की जरूरत है कि अब मुझसे नहीं हो पाएगा.
No, the question is not nahi sochne ka.
हम्म.
See, Maitri, the problem is that we think that we have to stop negative self-talk.
हम्म.
Have I told you even once to stop negative self-talk? Abhi tak I've not told you even
हम्म.
once to stop negative self-talk, right?
हम्म.
What have I been saying? I've been saying instead think this.
हम्म.
हमको replace करना है with positive words, with self-confidence words, not delete words. So it is not I have to stop thinking. No, I have to start thinking like this. There's a big difference between the two. Okay. So it is not that I'm telling you to stop thinking. It's like people, when you're angry and somebody says, stop being angry, na?
हम्म.
I'll give you 3 slaps across your face. What do you mean by stop being angry? Correct? Can you stop being angry?
हम्म.
Don't cry, no? But I'm crying. What do you mean by don't cry? Right? So you can't stop it. What you have to do is you have to find what is it that you're going to do instead. So instead of asking why, start asking what and how was the first one. I didn't say never ask this question. No, replace
हम्म.
it. Okay, so that is how to think.
Okay, okay. Now I understood it better.
Hmm.
So, okay, Ashton, the third scenario is here now.
Mhm.
I go to an event. Like,
Mm.
I am a very socially anxious kind of person and also quite self-conscious.
Mm.
तो ऐसे किसी इवेंट में मैं जा रही हूँ जहाँ पे आई डोंट नो एनीवन. तो या तो मैं कॉन्वर्सेशन स्ट्राइक करने का ट्राई नहीं करूंगी, या फिर इवन इफ आई ट्राई एंड द फर्स्ट कॉन्वर्सेशन डजंट गो एज वेल इन माई हेड कि उस पर्सन को लगा होगा कि ऐसे ही है, मतलब मैत्री, देयर इज नथिंग मच. तो आई स्टार्ट फीलिंग लाइक आई एम एन अनलाइकेबल पर्सन. आई थिंक कि आई नो आई मेड अ फूल ऑफ माई सेल्फ. आई स्टार्ट फीलिंग डम, और हो सकता है उसके बाद मैं किसी से बात ही ना करूं और बिना किसी सिग्निफिकेंट कॉन्वर्सेशन के आई विल बी बैक होम. तो वो अनलाइकेबल वाला लूप अपना शुरू हो जाता है. और साथ ही मतलब चलो देवर स्ट्रेंजर्स, बट इवन देयर आर व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स विद आवर फ्रेंड्स. तो मान लो मैंने ग्रुप में एक मैसेज डाला एंड आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग अ रिस्पॉन्स, बट रिस्पॉन्स नहीं आया. देन अगेन आई स्टार्ट फीलिंग माई फ्रेंड्स आर स्नबिंग मी और दे डोंट केयर एज मच अबाउट मी. What to think instead of this?
Both are two very different things, huh, Maitri? So you
Mm-hmm.
combine two very, very different topics.
Okay.
Okay. The first one is social anxiety. Let's deal with that one first. There's a beautiful book on the art of conversation. And the first line and the first rule in the first chapter of that is the responsibility of conversation always rests with you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That means what? That means that you have to work on yourself to be social. And it is a skill set just like everything else that you have to learn, right? I am a very socially, scared, introverted person. But if you see me in an event, you will never think that, because I've consciously worked on it. Every time earlier on, I used to go to an event, I would hide in the corner. I would hope that nobody saw me. I would make no eye contact with anybody. I would put my head down. If I was having my coffee, I would be like, sip my coffee, spend as much time in the toilet as I could, right? Those are things that we do because A, we don't feel that we have anything interesting to talk about. B, we don't know how to have conversations with people. And C, we're so worried about how people are going to think about us that we never get started.
Hmm.
So let's solve for all these three issues. The first one is you don't have enough topics to talk about. That means what? That means you don't have enough interests yourself. That means you're not curious as a person. That means you've not tried different things. Because if you've tried many, many, many things, then you'll have different things to talk about. Like I can talk about anything with anybody because I've had so many experiences in my life so that I can have a conversation with them. Whether it's a person who served in the Israeli army to somebody who is a book producer. And that's how the podcast started, right? Because people are saying that, Ashdin, how can you talk to everybody? I was like, because I've experienced all these things. So I know how to, I'm enthusiastic about that. The second thing is that you are scared that the other person is not going to respond. That
Hmm.
means that you haven't learned the art of having a back and forth conversation. That means I'll say something and I'll throw the ball at you. Now you say something and throw the ball at me, right? If the other person doesn't reply, maybe it's your onus to change the kind of conversation. Read the room, understand body language. If the person really doesn't reply, you don't have to really worry about them because that person doesn't want to talk to you. Go and talk to somebody else. There are enough people there.
Hmm.
But Maitri, the last one is the most important, which is that you feeling self-judged, right?
Hmm.
What will people think of me? And most of the time, we are worried about what people will think about us because we are constantly judging everybody else in the room. Now you will notice that you will be the first person to do the judging. That person will be like that. That person will be like that. That person will be like that. And as a result, you think that all those people are judging you back.
Hmm.
Now, what we have to do is we have to realize that everybody else in the room is as worried about being judged as you are. And realize they are not thinking about you because they are only thinking about themselves and worried about themselves. So most of the time when you're worried and being about that you're being judged by somebody else, it's because of this.
Hmm. Okay, so
Okay.
don't judge yourself. So you will also be less self-conscious.
Don't judge others first.
Ah, sorry, don't judge others. Yeah. Okay.
Don't judge others first. As
Uh,
in, get into the habit of not wanting to immediately say, ah, ye to vaisa hai, ye to vaisa hai, ye to vaisa hai. Because the more we judge others, the more we think about us. Like in school, or our grandmother used to say, na, don't point, because when you
hmm.
point with one finger, three fingers are pointing back at you.
Hmm.
Aisa hi hota hai. And most of the time, we are judging others, which is why we think everyone's thinking about us. It's like when you're dancing on the dance floor, right? And like, Hare, is everyone looking at me while I'm dancing? No, everyone's too scared about how they're looking. Nobody's caring about you. Now,
Yeah,
though, nobody's
true.
caring about you because everyone's looking at their phones. So nobody really knows what's going on.
And you mentioned a book, The Art of Conversation, it's called.
I've forgotten what it is called, but I think it is the art of conversation.
Okay, okay. I'll look it up and confirm with you and add it in the show notes for people to have a look at it. And there was this other situation which you said कि it's a very different situation जब मेरे अपने ही friends reply नहीं कर रहे हैं group में.
When your own friends are not replying to you, the first thought is nobody loves me.
Hmm.
Right? We never think maybe they're busy. Never think any of those things.
Hmm.
So what you do is the way that I would handle it, one is that message without expectation. So मैंने तो message कर दिया. It's okay if nobody replies. Like on the other day on the school group, somebody put up a point saying that anyone wants to go for a movie and nobody replied for an entire day.
Hmm.
So lots of galis happened after that, saying that no, but none of y'all even thought about replying. But the point is that everyone was busy, so everyone thought somebody else would reply. And that is what actually happens. Right?
Hmm.
Everyone's saying, I thought this one was going to reply. I thought this one was going to reply. So you realize that logistically only there's an issue right there.
Hmm.
And you have thought about it as saying that, Arey, I am the problem here.
हाँ.
Then you suddenly realize that the world doesn't revolve around you. Right? Other people are going through other things in life. But we constantly think everything is about us, that the world revolves around us. And we are the center of it all. As soon as we change that as a habit and a way of working, life makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And let's talk about the fourth scenario,
Mhm.
which is body shaming ourselves.
Mhm.
देखो, सबने बॉडी पॉजिटिविटी, बॉडी न्यूट्रलिटी सब सुन रखा है, बट जैसे ही हम मिरर के सामने आते हैं या फिर इंस्टाग्राम पे देख लिया किसी को कि बिल्कुल परफेक्ट फिगर है, तो वी स्टार्ट लोदिंग आवर ओन बॉडी कि हम लोग ये भूल जाते हैं कि यही बॉडी हमें सपोर्ट कर रही है, ग्रेटफुल होना है, ब्ला ब्ला, ये सब सुनते रहते हैं, बट स्टिल वी फॉरगेट ऑल ऑफ दैट एंड स्टार्ट टॉकिंग नेगेटिवली कि अच्छा, ऐसे अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, ये प्रोफाइल अच्छी नहीं है, आर्म फैट ज्यादा हो गया है, टमी हो गया है, तो वी अगेन स्टार्ट टॉकिंग नेगेटिवली टू आवरसेल्व्स, आवर ओन बॉडीज. तो ग्रैटिट्यूड के सिवा इज देयर एनीथिंग एल्स दैट वी कैन डू, एश्टन, इन दिस सिचुएशन?
Three things. One is identify something that you like about your body. Look at that first. Oh, wow, I still have beautiful eyes. Oh, great. Right? Admire your eyes. Then ask yourself what it is that you don't like about a particular body part. Okay. My arms are too fat. My this is too this. My that is too this. Then ask yourself, is there anything you can do about it? Okay. Now, I can't reduce the size of my nose, right? Because plastic surgery is not something I want to do, right? I can't change the color of my skin. I can't suddenly get blonde hair naturally, right? So there are certain things that you cannot change about your body. So that is the stuff that you accept. But the stuff that you can change, you do everything in your ability to change. The problem with the body positive movement is they're saying, no, 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 everything is beautiful. No, things that you can change, please change. Right? Who's telling you not to change? Right? If you think your arms are fat, you can exercise, you can work out, you can do intermittent fasting, you can go on no sugar challenges. There are so many things that you can do. Right? So as a result, you soon realize that the things that you can change, you change. The things that you can't change, you accept. And that is the way to look at it. And you will soon realize that if 10 things you hate about your body, 7 of those are things that you can work on and change. 3 of things are things that you have to accept. I can't change the color of my eyes. I can't suddenly have blue eyes or green eyes. So I accept that. So that is how you start thinking about your body and your body positivity and your conversation. So every time I look at myself in the mirror, I was like, oh wow, I'm so hot. I have this, but I have this little thing on my tummy. I'm going to maybe not have a sweet dish for the next 3 weeks. So I have changed the way that I have actioned it because I know that if I do this action, this body part of mine will change. And the problem with the body positive movement is that we are accepting not healthy bodies going ahead. A healthy body looks very different, feels very different. And once you feel what a healthy body actually lives like, once you live in a healthy body, you'll never ever want to go back to an unhealthy body. And that is the key. I can change this. I'm going to change this.
Okay, so you are talking about feeling healthy, not like looking a certain way, which
So I'm
is, I
saying
think,
that we look at the mirror and think looks, but I'm saying looks are one angle. Actually, being healthy is very different. Feeling healthy is very different. Feeling full of energy is very different. Right? Feeling strong is very different. That is actually something that you can also focus on instead of just what you look like.
Okay, Ashton. And there's one more scenario that I wanted to discuss is that when I'm not able to achieve a goal I set for myself. जैसे मैंने सोचा कि मैं इस महीने 20,000 रुपीज सेव करूंगी, and I have been able to do this like every month. But किसी एक month में I was able to save only 10,000. Then I think to myself कि इतना भी नहीं कर सकती. यही थॉट आ जाता है कि अरे तुमसे इतना ही नहीं हो पाया, तुम और क्या करोगी, तुम हाउ विल यू इंक्रीज योर सेविंग्स. या फिर किसी दिन थोड़ा देर से उठी एंड माय डॉटर गॉट लेट फॉर हर स्कूल बस, तो भी यही थॉट आता है कि अरे कैसी मदर हो तुम, मतलब इतना भी नहीं कर पाई कि इतना सा गोल तुम्हारा है छोटा सा कि तुम इतने बजे उठना है, तुम नहीं उठ पा रही हो. तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में व्हाट कैन वी टेल आवरसेल्व्स?
So it's very interesting, right? Because what we are doing is we are making ourselves feel guilty. Right? That means that we had an expectation of ourselves and we could not even live to that expectation. Guilt is one of the most dangerous emotions that we can have. Okay? Guilt is one of the most dangerous emotions that we can have. Very often it is other people who've taught us how to guilt ourselves. So maybe you had a parent, maybe you had a friend, maybe you had a partner who taught you how to feel guilty all the time. Athlete, na, you can't even do this for me. You can't even do this for this. You can't even do this for this. Kis tarah ki aadmi ho? Right? And that's how we learn this behavior of conversation. So the first thing is that you have to understand that guilt is very toxic and you need to get guilt out of your system. The second thing that you have to understand is that guilt is just that telling you ki this was your ideal, you were shortcoming in it. That means either your ideal has to change or you have to up your game. That is all that guilt is telling you.
Yeah.
Correct? It is not saying that you're a bad person. It is saying that you just need to get more skills, or you need to know more, or you have to practice harder. That's all. That's what guilt is telling you. So in the same way, if you break it down into this, then you realize, okay, what was I really have to feel guilty about? Okay, what did I learn from this? Maybe I should have gone to sleep a little earlier than I did to wake up on time. Maybe I should have um, realized that I could have bought this on EMI instead of buying it one shot. Maybe I realized that I need to save 25,000 right in the beginning of the month so that I don't have to worry about it at the end of the month. There are different ways in which that you can address this situation once it's happened. But what have I learned from this is important. And it's not a function of now I have to punish myself and next month I have to save 35,000 rupees. That's not the way to think about it, right? Because, and I'm 100% sure that there was also one thought that went through your mind. Now I have to punish myself with this. I'm not going to buy those shoes that I wanted. I'm going to punish myself. Correct? So guilt and punishment become very closely linked. Instead, what you have to do is you have to say, what is this trying to teach me? What have I learned from this?
ओके सो अभी तक मैंने अपने सिनेरियोज की बात की है जो मैंने अपने आसपास देखे हैं बट नाउ वी वांट टू हियर फ्रॉम द हैबिट कोच हिमसेल्फ कि उन्होंने कभी ऐसी नेगेटिव सेल्फ टॉक की है अपने आप से
Many times, all the time, every time. But the point is that do you catch yourself? देखो नेगेटिव सेल्फ टॉक होती है क्योंकि आवर माइंड इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड रिस्क अवर्स दैट मींस आई विल एयर ऑन द साइड ऑफ caution. That is where negative self-talk lies. Correct? I will try to do this. I don't know if it will actually happen on etc. 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 Correct? What we have to do is we have to catch it right in the beginning. Just the same way that I taught you about how to catch it before it becomes a negative chain of thoughts. You have to catch it right in the beginning and saying, now I'll stop it right here and continue from and change the way that I'm thinking. So now I've realized how to change the way that I'm thinking. I've realized what are the words not to use and what are the thoughts not to have. So let's understand this one thing, that all negative thoughts, all negative people do three things all the time. And they have a habit of doing these three things. One is comparing, criticizing, and complaining. Okay? Compare, criticize, complain. So I am like this, that person's like this. मेरा podcast में 500,000 views है, उनका podcast में 600,000 views है. Correct? So comparison. अरे मेरे podcast में तो 6 views है, तो मैं क्या करूँ अभी? Correct? So now you suddenly say that, I've compared now, what is the point, this person? But you don't know about that person's journey. So negative self-talk comes out of comparing. Negative self-talk comes out of complaining. Arey, this tea is so hot. Why do they have to give such hot tea? I wanted to drink it right now. Right? Complaining constantly about, this weather is so terrible. Why is it raining all day? It's in the rainy season. It's going to rain. No, what did you expect is going to happen during the rainy season?
Yeah.
Correct? So constantly complaining about things also is negative self-talk. And the last one is when you're constantly criticizing. Oh, look at that person. They're wearing green. Who wears green today? When you're constantly doing these things, you're constantly creating an environment of negativity around you. Complaining, comparing, and criticizing, these three C's. So if you can start consciously avoiding these three, you will notice that negativity reduces very fast. That is the first. The second thing to understand is the words that you use on a daily basis. I am going to try to do this is a negative word. Why? Because trying means what? That means you don't have the confidence. That means you're not going to put your full effort. You're going to try. It's okay if it doesn't work, etc., etc. Right? Like I keep telling my clients this. I give them a pen and I put it down. And I say, okay, pick this pen up. And they pick it up. And put it down. I'm like, now try to pick it up. and there'll be hesitation. Try to pick it up. Matlab, like, abhi, what has changed in this? Can I do it? I can't. I don't know if I can do it. So what happens every time you use the word try? There's a momentary hesitation that takes place, and it's that momentary hesitation that compounds and grows and grows and grows and grows, and then it becomes very hard to get out of. So try is a negative word.
Okay, so these are some small mindset shifts that we follow and then slowly move towards a more positive attitude.
Correct. Absolutely. If you make these little tiny habits, you can make a change.
It was really nice learning from you. And I think the conversation was simple yet powerful because we talked about different scenarios. You also shared some mindset shifts that we can do. And before we wrap up this episode, I'd also like to know how people can connect with you. What are some of the best ways to reach out to Ashdin Doctor?
So the easiest way is to connect over Instagram. I am at Ashdin Doc, ASHDINDOC. You can listen to my podcast. It's called the Habit Coach Podcast. So you get it everywhere. You can follow my YouTube channel. It's called Habit Coach Awesome 180. So you can find all these things right out there.
Okay. And you have also written 2 wonderful books. We'd also like to know about them.
So the first book is called Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. It's a book for adults. So for us wanting to change our lives and understanding that our habits are actually creating the lives that we are living. And if you want to change it in another direction, you have to change the habits that you do every single day. So it guides you, and it's a practical guide to how to make these habits change. And the second book is for kids between the age groups of 6 to 9. And it is 8 habits to help them understand and learn. So for example, habits like gratitude, habits like solitude, habits like creativity, all these habits are part of this book. And it teaches children through storytelling without being, preachy and lectury, how to actually make these changes. And it's doing very well. It's a bestseller right now. So I'm very, very proud of it.
Okay. And children can read the book on their own.
If you are 9 years old, yes. If you're 6 years old, maybe a little difficult. So the parents, I always tell the parents to read the book with the child because it's a lot of learning for the parents also. And I think it creates a good bonding.
So thank you so much, Ashdin, for giving us practical takeaways and ideas we can use right now. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Maitri.
अगर आपको ये एपिसोड वैल्यूएबल लगा तो प्लीज हेल्प लिटिल फिक्सेस रीच मोर पीपल by sharing it with someone you care about. You can also give us a shout out on Instagram. मेरा हैंडल है @littlefixespodcast. All this helps me in growing the podcast और बहुत सारे और लोगों की हेल्प भी होती है इसको सुन के. I'm grateful for your time. अब मिलते हैं अगस्त की फर्स्ट वेडनेसडे को यानी कि 2 अगस्त को. We'll meet on every Wednesday from next month. तब तक के लिए खुद से प्यार करते रहो और सदा सैसी रहो. Bye.